We're on page 2 of finding parallelogram angles and side lengths. Find the measure indicated in each parallelogram. Alright, so looking at angle R and angle T, we can see that they're opposite, right? So we know that opposite angles are congruent. So angle R is congruent to angle T. So if T is 135, then angle R is also equal to 135. Now, can I find the missing angles? I definitely can, right? Because we know that they should add up to 180. So all I would do is take 180 minus 135, and I know that this is 45 and this is 45. All right. Number 2. Angle D and C are consecutive or right next to each other, same side, so they should add up to 180, right? So 70 plus 110 gives me 180. I would know that angle E is 70 because opposite angles are congruent. And then angle F is 110. So every time I look at two angles that are next to each other, they should add up to 180, which they do. All right, and then I'm going to do number 5. Number 5, my opposite sides are congruent, right? So SR is congruent to PQ, and SP is congruent to RQ. So looking at this, if this is 23, then I know this is 23 as well. Do I have enough information to figure out these missing sides? I don't. Interior angles, I could find them, but with the sides, I have no idea. I cannot venture a guess as to what SR and PQ are. I only know what SP is because I know what RQ is. All right, so go ahead and do number 3, number 4, and number 6, and we'll have you guys go over them in class. So pause the video and do 3, 4, and 6, and then come back. All right, number 11 and 12 get a little bit more difficult. All right, so for number 11, are we given angles or are we given sides? We're given angles because you see 80 degrees, and this little expression right here is next to angle Y. So we're solving for x, so I'm trying to find x in this expression right here. All right, so since they're right next to each other, they're not across from each other, right? I know that they add up to 180. I know that angle Z plus angle Y equals 180. So I can set up an equation to solve for x. Angle Z is 80 plus angle Y is 11x minus 10 is equal to 180. I combine my like terms, so 80 minus 10 is 70 plus 11x is equal to 180. Subtract 70 on both sides, and I get 11x is equal to 110. Divide both sides by 11, and x is equal to 10. So when I plug x back in, I know that this angle should equal 100. So when I plug x back in, 11 times 10 is 110 minus 10, which gives me 100 degrees. And I know that's correct. I also know that angle W is 100 and angle X is 80 because they're opposite. So what you need to do to solve these problems is figure out what the relationship is and then set up the equation. So on number 12, I'm given two opposite sides. My first property was that opposite sides are congruent, so I can just set up an equation that sets these equal to each other because I know that TS is congruent to UR. So TS is 2x plus 15 is equal to x plus 15. I'm going to subtract x on both sides, and I'm left with x plus 15 equals 15. Subtract 15, and 15 minus 15 gives me 0. So x should equal 0. So when I plug 0 back into this equation, 2 times 0 is 0. So my only thing left here is 15. And 0 plus 15 is 15. So after I plug it back in, I know that these two are congruent and that this is true. Now, do I have enough information to solve for TU or SR? I don't. I only know that opposite sides are congruent. I cannot find that missing side. I could find missing angles, but not sides. All right, so I want you to pause the video and do 13, 14, 15, and 16. We'll be doing these in class together. So go ahead and have your work ready, and we'll work them out together. So pause the video and do those, and then come back and we'll do the challenge problems. Okay, so challenge problem number 1. All right, so looking at this, I have a parallelogram. I know that opposite angles are congruent, so I can fill in 60 right here. And I know that same side angles should be supplementary, right? They should add to 180. So this angle and this angle right here should be what? Well, 180 minus 60 gives me 120. So angle V and angle X should both be 120 degrees, right? All right, so looking at this here, I'm trying to find this question mark right here. If I know that the full angle should be 120 degrees, then I can find this missing piece by subtracting out what we know, which is 52. So the whole angle should be 120. I'm going to subtract 52, and I'll see what we get. $68. All right, pause the video and do challenge problem number 2. We'll go over that in class. All right, I also want you to try EOC practice problem. So you're selecting A through D, and we'll go over that in class as well. So right now you're doing problem 2 and the EOC practice problem. Once you've completed those, you can press play again. All right, parallelograms diagonal practice. All right, so what we know about diagonals is that they bisect each other, right? So when they bisect each other, we have a midpoint in the middle that splits the diagonals in half. So I know that if T is my midpoint, TS and QT are the same. RT and TP are the same. So looking at this, they give me RT. So R to T is 19.8. If that's 19.8, I know that this is also 19.8, right? Because T bisects them. So it's asking for R to P. So what we're trying to find is that whole length right there. So RP is just going to be 19.8 plus 19.8. So let's go ahead and add these two together. And we get 39.6. Now, can I find these missing sides? No, I cannot. I only know information about R to P. All right, I want you to pause the video and attempt number 18, number 19, and number 20 on your own. We'll go over those together in class. Once you do those, come back and we'll do challenge problem number 3 together. All right, so challenge problem number 3. This time it gives us, well, first of all, I know I have a midpoint here in point E, right? So I know that my diagonals bisect each other. So I can say that VE is congruent to ET and SE is congruent to EU. Those links are the same, right? Okay, so here I know that T to E is equal to 4 plus 2x, and I know that E to V is equal to 4x minus 4. So they give us TE and they give us EV. Those two should equal each other, right? It's this right here. So all I'm going to do is set them equal to each other. 4 plus 2x is going to equal 4x minus 4. It's easier to move the 2x, so I'm going to subtract that. 4 equals 2x minus 4. After that, I add 4 to both sides, and I'm left with 8 equals 2x. I divide both sides by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so x equals 4. Now let's look back and see, was that what it was asking us for? No. It says find TE. So I want to know how long this is, right? So TE, they tell me, TE is equal to 4 plus 2x. Could I also have plugged it into EV? Yes, technically, right? Because they're both equal, so it shouldn't matter which one I plug it into. So TE is equal to 4 plus 2 times 4. See, I took x and I plugged it in. So TE is equal to 4 plus 8. TE is equal to 12. Okay, what if it asks us for V to T for the whole thing? I know that if one piece is 12, the other piece must be 12, so this entire thing is 24, right? All right, we are almost done. We're ready for the main ideas. So main ideas here. Opposite sides of parallelograms are congruent. Opposite angles of parallelograms are congruent. Same side, or the other word we learned for that was consecutive. Consecutive angles of parallelograms sum to 180. We know that diagonals bisect each other. So they split each other into 2 equal parts. And we also know that rectangles are parallelograms with congruent diagonals. So their diagonals equal each other, right? Okay. Now what I want you to do here in parallelogram WXYZ, diagonals W and Y and X and Z intersect at point M. I really can't solve any of this without actually picturing it. So let's go ahead and draw a parallelogram out to the side. All right, I'm doing the best I can here. W, X, Y, Z. So my diagonal WY and my diagonal XZ intersect at point M. I know if my diagonals are intersecting at point M that this and this are congruent, this and this are congruent. All right, now use this to solve problems A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, do the best you can. We'll go over this in class tomorrow. All right, see you tomorrow.